Hello, good morning, everyone. GHRDC welcomes you to today's webinar titled Hotel and Hospitality Industry Leading and Managing Amidst the Coronavirus, the Corona Crisis, and Finding New Opportunities in the New Normal. First of all, a very warm welcome and thank you, everyone, for taking out your valuable time and joining in with us today. So, we are very delighted to have with us our experts from industry and academia for this discussion. On behalf of the whole GHRDC team, I welcome our expert panels. GHRDC, as many of you would be aware, is a 22-year-old education research firm working dedicatedly in the education sector, specifically in the area of ranking, training, mentoring, and research, with the very sole aim of working on upgrading the quality of education in various sectors with the sole aim of working on upgrading the quality of education in various sectors and benchmarking the best of educational institutions in our country. Hotel management specifically has been one area which has been very close to our heart, and it is over 15 years now we have been working in this area. This whole webinar series is a part of our vision to bring about a positive collaboration between the whole hotel management educational institutions and the hotel and hospitality industry itself. As yeah, hospitality industry itself, and also for the growth and guidance of students, educational institutions, and hotel and hospitality industry. As we have all seen, the past year has impacted the whole hotel and hospitality industry. With the spread of the pandemic, the year has impacted the hotel and hospitality industry and has had far reaching implications on how we operate now. In the words of Airbnb co founder Brian Chesky, the travel as we knew it is over. It doesn't mean the travel is over. Just the travel we knew is over and it's never coming back. And with the emergence of concepts like work from home, also could be work from any home. So the whole paradigm and the definition of this sector is undergoing a huge transformation at this stage. So we now invite our distinguished speakers to talk about this change we are experiencing and their views on what lays ahead. Also, I would request our wonderful attendees and audience, they can type in their questions for the speakers in the chat box which is given along with the name of the speaker they want to address their questions to. Now I would request our Assistant Director, Ms. Aratna Changakoti, to briefly introduce our guest speakers for today.
Thank you, Neha. A very warm welcome to you all. Greetings from the GHRDC team to all our distinguished speakers. It's my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today's webinar. Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee is the Chairman and Director of Eastern Institute for Integrated Learning in Management, EIILM, Kolkata. With a rich experience of over 35 years, Professor Dr. Banerjee perfectly harmonizes academic brilliance with industry expertise. A professor of finance and ethics, he had been an integral part of Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta for nearly a decade. An international educationist, Dr. Banerjee is the member of the Committee for Higher Education Induction Program, UGC, Ministry of HRD, Government of India, and the board member of CMD of National Council of Science Museums, Government of India. He holds a PhD degree in management from Calcutta University and has done his postdoc research at Stockholm University. EIILM, his educational institution, runs several professional courses, one of them being BBA in Hotel and Hospitality. Mr. Hareshwar Dayal, Senior Consultant with Hotel Industry, with more than 43 years of experience in hospitality industry, Mr. Dayal has worked for some of the leading names in business, such as Mansingh Group of Hotels, Shiv Vilas, Ramada Group of Hotels, Radisson Hotels, Park Plaza, and Taj Group of Hotels. The last 4 decades have seen him rise from the position of a trainee to that of a vice president, where he was responsible for the management of several hotel chains, one of them from the project stage. This varied experience has provided him with exposure to the different facets of hotel business and now forms the basis of his strength as a good administrator and as an advisor to many such properties. An alumni of IHM Pusa, batch of 75, Mr. Dayal enjoys and excels in cultivating relationships and has the privilege of having a large network of friends and professionals in the travel and tourism industry throughout India and abroad. It is his strong belief that successful businesses and relationships can be built only on the foundations of courtesy, honesty, and integrity. Mr. Kamalkant Pant, Principal of IHM Pusa, New Delhi. Mr. Pant has over 3 decades long career as a practicing hotel management manager for first 12 years and remaining 21 years of heading 2 more institutions before the current position at IHM Pusa since 2017. He is a graduate of IHM Bhubaneswar. He had the privilege of starting the first hospitality college in Nepal as its founder principal, which he nurtured for 11 years before joining IHM Gwalior as the principal and secretary for 6 years. He had moved to IHM Pusa 3 years back in the capacity of principal and secretary of this iconic institution. He has 2 PG diplomas in the area of HRD from SATEC, Singapore, and tourism management and master's degree in education management. Ms. Payal Joshi, front office manager, Hilton Bangalore Embassy. Ms. Payal has more than 15 years of work experience in front office, housekeeping, and training with India's leading hotel chains, namely Hyatt, Taj, ITC Welcome Group, Royal Orchid Hotels, and Fortune Park Hotels. Currently, she is working as the front office manager at Hilton Bangalore Embassy, Golf Links. She is a graduate of Hotel Management and Catering Technology from Lady Amritbai Daga College, Nagpur, affiliated to AICTE, and holds a diploma in training and development from the Indian Society for Training and Development, New Delhi. Having worked for different brands, both Indian and international, helped her look at different aspects of managing her professional and personal life in a more creative and balanced way. She strongly believes that one cannot be successful if one does not build a good team. Discipline, compassion, and teamwork are the essential tools for a great career. You will grow only if you let others grow, is her mantra. Mr. Ashwini Nair, General Manager, Crown Plaza. Mr. Nair is a passionate hospitality veteran with close to 3 decades of work experience in the industry. Through his career, he has worked with some of the finest global hospitality brands across South Asia and Southeast Asia. A strong upholder of lifelong learning and growth, Mr. Nair believes in competing against self and improving every day. He is currently leading the largest Crown Plaza, part of Intercontinental Hotels Group in Southwest Asia. He feels honored for being recognized as India's top 100 great people's manager by Forbes India. Along with his zeal for hotels, he also serves as the member of Board of Studies for Galgotia Universities, TEDCO Education, and Graphic Era University. Apart from hospitality, which is his professional passion, Mr. Nair nurtures a strong interest in fitness and regularly swims, cycles, plays golf and tennis, and is an avid collector of music and art. Dr. D. Anthony Ashok Kumar, Director, Principal SRM IHM Chennai. Dr. Anthony Ashok Kumar completed BA in Sociology from Osmania University and MBA Honors from Swiss Manchester University. He pursued an MA in Sociology and MSc Hotel Management from Annamalai University. Later, he pursued PhD. The doctorate conferred on him is the first PhD in India pertaining to hospitality industry from University of Madras. Due to his passion and drive for teaching, he moved to the academic ring and served as a lecturer with the most reputed institutes like Government Institute of Hotel Management, Hyderabad, and Government Institute of Hotel Management, Chennai. His experience, proficiency, and expertise had made him hold numerous responsibilities. His drive and academic quest enabled him to hold key positions in the industry. He is expert member for AICTE, Southern Region and Northern Region, Chairman, Board of Studies, Hotel Management, University of Madras, Member, Board of Studies, Tourism, Madurai Kamaraj University, and also served as Chairman, Board of Studies, Hotel Management, Bharatiya University, and Chairman, Board of Studies, Hotel Management, MS University. And now we have Ms. Mekhla Sinha, Executive Director of GHRDC, who will be acting as the moderator for this discussion today. With this, I would request Ms. Mekhla to now take over and initiate the panel discussion. Over to you, Meghla.
Thank you, Aradhana. But before we go on, Dr. Banerjee has just joined us. So I would once again request you to introduce him to all the panel members.
Yes, I'll introduce.
Welcome, sir.
And good morning to everybody. Namaskar.
We're really privileged to have you today. Thank you so much for joining.
Welcome, sir. I'll read your introduction again, sir. Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee is the Chairman and Director, Eastern Institute for Integrated Learning in Management, EIILM, Kolkata. With a rich experience of over 35 years, Professor Dr. Banerjee perfectly harmonizes academic brilliance with industry expertise. A professor of finance and ethics, he had been an integral part of Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta for nearly a decade. An international educationist, Dr. Banerjee is the member of the Committee for Higher Education Induction Program, UGC, Ministry of HRD under Government of India, and a board member of CMD of National Council of Science Museums, Government of India. He holds a PhD in management from Calcutta University and has done his postdoc research at Stockholm University. EILM, his educational institution, runs several professional courses, one of them being BBA in Hotel and Hospitality.
Once again, a very, very warm welcome to all our panelists, to all the members, distinguished speakers today. We're really privileged and honored to have you all. And with this, I would like to start today's panel discussion. My first question will be to Dr. Anthony Ashok Kumar, sir. Sir, the question that I have for you is pertaining to the challenges that we have been facing as hotel management educational institutions, and how has the sector been impacted as far as education is concerned in hotel management due to COVID and pandemic. So would you like to throw some light on it? Sir, you're on mute.
Good morning to all of you. I welcome you all this morning, higher learning education introduction. And of course, the COVID has been, disturbed significantly, affected all over, not only to our country, it is all over the economic, it has affected all the country and the economic. And it is, India has more than 32 crore students who have been affected by not only the hotel management, all around. As normal education activities badly affected, due to lockdown, Education Institute cancelled their regular classes and the examination, internship, everything. And initially, the education students were quite confused, didn't understand how to cope up with the situation. Education started facing a difficulty in admission. We are the livelihood of the faculties also now we have to take into consideration. Teaching staff are affected significantly at their workplace professionally. The fact is not that higher education learning have strategically for the teaching and continuity of activity must be taken into account. Temporary contract may be terminated. Layoff of the staff, temporary contracts have been introduced. Often young promising research staff disinvesting their young research will have a severe impact on a longer term of research potential by cutting off their talent pipeline. Traveling became a challenge during the COVID, which makes a dilemma to the education sector. And uncertain future, the fresh students who are likely to enter to the job market facing a difficulty in getting a suitable employment. Many students have already got the job through campus interviews, may not be able to join their jobs on time. Recently, the graduates in India are also fearing withdrawal of their jobs from the corporate sector because of the movement of restriction in the pandemic session. Many students are struggling to finalize part of curriculum, field research, internship need to be for a graduation. Enrollment in the university is a better option than being unemployed. Higher education students are perceived to be a higher risk on contaminators. Many Indians have returned home after losing their jobs and career. Hence, the fresher student would like to enter the job market facing a difficulty in getting a suitable employment. The current impact on crisis, higher education are easily documented for students are the most immediate impact has naturally been the temporary crisis. facing face-to-face teaching, higher education learning has left them particularly under those who are and aspire to enter higher education in the completely new situation. Without clear idea, students do not know what they're going to do in the future. Uncertain future of the students. Impact on the universities, average estimate on about 20,000 higher education institutions has closed down, affecting learning opportunities, and impressive switch to distance education, online learning, e-learning, and mixed mode of education delivery. Very negative impact on equality, disadvantaged students particularly hit. Disruption in assessment and end of the year examination disrupts study programs, graduation, learning. Stream of international students drying up. Institutions depend upon fee-paying students for suffering very high admission distraction. It's going to face more, not only India and all over the world. Admission process likely interrupted. College admission officials have been forced to rethink their matrix for the admitting students for 2021 and 22. The CEOs of the National Association of College Admission Counseling told the NPR that students, applicants are likely to not to have SAT and ACT scores. In addition, since many high schools either switched off to pass, fail, graduate, or closed doors completely in the spring, students may missing the semester or more of grades as well as the extracurricular activities. At some colleges and universities, officials are considering using advanced placement scores, writing samples, and other innovative criteria to determine the students' eligibility for admission. Budgeting and forecasting, it is very important for any institution to forecast the budget. COVID has made room on education budget for emergency spending. Forecast shows the government spending on the education likely to suffer due to COVID. The pandemic has reduced budget to spend on education 2020. Negative forecast show that each person educated spending could fall significantly in all regions, especially the middle income countries setting the largest drops. While economic growth is predicted to return in 2021, education is spending likely to most of the countries. Families not to have face education financing. Parents in low and middle income countries will struggle maintain their children education. The livelihood of many families have already been affected by pandemic, need to some time to lead normal. From external financing education, COVID has hit economic measure. Assess the digital world in global education. Many students have limited or not intended to assess. Many students may not be able to afford a computer, laptop, supporting mobile phones in their homes. Online teaching, learning have created a digital divide among the students. The lockdown had hit poor students very hardly in India. Most of them are not able to explore online learning. The online teaching learning method has created a gap between the rich and the poor and the urban and the rural. Pandemic has significantly disturbed higher education sector. A large number of Indian students who have enrolled in many universities in abroad, especially worst affected countries, have returned back. A result is that a significant decline in the demand of international. The conclusion is that COVID has impacted immensely in the education sector in India, though it has created many challenges, various opportunities are also involved. The Indian government has different stakeholders to educate, have explored the possibility of open distance learning by adopting different digital technologies to cope up with the COVID crisis. India is not fully equipped to make education reach all concern and corners of the nation via digital platform. Students who are privileged like the other will suffer due to present choice of digital platform. But universities and other government of India are reluctantly trying to come up with solution to resolve the problem. The concept of work from home has a greater relevance in such pandemic situation to reduce spreading of COVID-19, and online practice in benefiting the students immensely should be continued after the lockdown. So with that, I would like to conclude. It is also to mention that the COVID has disturbed students now getting into the internship in hotels. The hospitality is mostly on practical oriented, program. The courses which has been designed is that the mostly practical oriented, and thanks to the COVID, it has taught us how to bring the industry together to the institutions. We have a lot of seminars and webinars been connected. If it not COVID, the students would not have seen the top leading hoteliers, the people who have been doing advanced studies. We also been taken part into the webinar. We connected not only in India and globally. We connected because of webinar. There is an advantage and disadvantage. We have to wait and see what is going to be the 2020-21. With that, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing. Before I proceed further, Ms. Payal Joshi has joined us. So very warm welcome to you, Payal. And we're really, really happy and excited to have you here. Payal is heading and working as the front office manager at Hilton Embassy, Bangalore. And Payal, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. There was some issue with the connectivity. I tried logging in a couple of times. And that's when I reached out to you saying, if you don't help me with this, I would not be able to join it.
No worries, no worries. It's wonderful to have you anyways. And thank you that you made the effort to come in. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So moving on, I think, Mr. Pant, would you like to add, because you're also part of an education entity for so long for hotel management, the challenges that Sir just shared, would you like to add into any of that?
No, I think Dr. Anthony Kumar pretty much touched everything, but most important part, if I have to summarize, some of the points what Dr. Anthony put forth, what has happened is because of this crisis, since the industry for which we are preparing the human resources for has been very severely affected. And like it is a kind of maze in which we have been pushed into. And now it is a struggle for us to find our way out of this maze. Now, if I would share the reality check with you, the kind of placement which were made in the previous year, 2020, even with the large hotel chains, the leading hotel chains, the homegrown international hotel chains, the students who were selected last year, who were otherwise supposed to join in the month of June and July 2020, their reporting or their joining has not taken place still. It's been 7-8 months overdue. So that joining has not actually taken place. And the next batch is about to graduate in next a few months time. So this is a kind of a oversupply kind of a situation of talent which is happening, and where the demand for the talent is kind of shrinking. So this is a very big challenge that we are facing. And as an educationist, what I feel that the greater challenge lies that we do not know, hospitality being a very hands-on kind of a profession, people have to pick up skills, they have to pick up soft skills, they have to pick up certain work-related skills, whether they are in the realm of cooking, baking, or housekeeping, or interaction skills. And these are the skills which are only possible when we are able to impart these things, on offline, face to face. And though we have worked out strategies to make use of the technologies and try to imbibe or impart these skills online, but it is not the same thing. One of the biggest tool that a teacher has is the non-verbal communication, the body language that teacher sees in the students. And when the people are behind a screen, it is really very, very challenging to really inspire the people and bring them into the fold and really make them participate in that. But what I feel is like in a situation like this, there is a kind of discovery and there is a kind of problem solving also, because we do realize that the hotels probably for another year or so would be going through this path to recovery, and then the requirement for talent might not be there as high as we would like to see this. So what has happened is that there are newer sectors. A crisis, makes you, pushes you into thinking out of the box. And what I feel is that the retail sector and the logistic companies and the education, online education portals, and these are the new sectors which have emerged very, very strongly. And what has happened that some of the people whose appointments were kind of withdrawn by some of these companies, many other companies came forward and said that these people who are now without concrete or firm offers, we would like to give them an opportunity to come forward and interview with us, and probably take up assignments in the. So one very important thing in the hospitality education is that you make people very strong in the soft skills, and these skills are so transferable that across the service sector these skills are employable, and many people are finding it very, they're very pleasantly surprised that this retail chains and online retail chains, they are finding a very good use of our talent. And I think this situation is also convincing the students and their teachers, parents, everybody alike, that in situation like that, shifting from one sector of the economy to other sector may not be as unheard of as it was in the past. So maybe the graduates may join one sector, and later on they may come back to their sector of the choice, into the hotels or into airlines or other businesses. But there have been some challenges, but at the same time we see silver lining with the vaccination drive happening. We are very pleased to announce here that hopefully from the 1st of February, we will be in a position to open our institutions partially for practical input. And we probably will go on in a hybrid mode wherein there is a mix of online and offline education that we are in a position to give. So we will see how the situation pans out. But one important thing is that we had to be in terms with the reality. We cannot remain in a denial mode and keep on wondering that why it has happened with us and why it has happened now. It has happened. This is a reality. This is something when we look back, hopefully, when we go out of the situation unscathed, we will look back and realize, and then we will see the scale of this pandemic which was there. So I don't think we are in a position to totally understand what is the scale of the effect, of this pandemic on the entire economy, education, hospitality, and other sector of economy. But I'm very happy to see the silver lining in the dark clouds.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Pan. This is actually something which is happening to the entire sector, not just in India, but all over the world. So these inputs and insights that are being shared is highly relevant and something that we are all seeing. Mr. Dayal, my next question to you is that, like I had asked about these challenges to the educational sector, what are the challenges that you see the hotel management industry and the hospitality industry going through?
Thank you, Mikla, for bringing me to this panel. And this is definitely, as I mentioned, it is the first time I'm doing this Zoom session. So excuse me if there is any hiccups. I'm sorry. Yeah, you said the question is how we are and what are the challenges. At the moment, it is not the question of revival. It is the question of survival. We are not going to see how it is the way it has affected entire tourism industry. It has come down not from 100 to, I will call it, not 1%. It has come down to 0. So basically travel and industry is the biggest ambassador of the world, and that has been affected. And we have to look into it, what the government, how the government can help it. And this is, as far as I remember, from the 1959 or 60, when we were a small kid, this we didn't know about much about hotel industry and all. The data has shown that this is after 60 years or 70 years, 60 years rather, this is the worst affected industry. And how, what are we going? Look at the government, what the government is doing. You have to pay fixed electricity charges, immaterial the hotel is operational or not. The hotel is not earning any money, but still you have to pay. There is no staff on duty, but you are paying a PF, ESI. Don't you think it should be taken over by the government as well? Isn't it? Hotel has lots of to do. You have announced all the monuments is open. What about the? There is a curfew in different cities. There was a lockdown. Okay, after the lockdown, there's no propaganda. There is no advertisement. So what are we doing basically? We'll have to look into that. So all these fees and etc. has to be reduced. Coming down to the good that I have joined with the distinguished panel, which are connected with the hotel, which are the colleges. The few things which I would like to point out, please excuse me. I had gone as an examiner of IHM Gwalior. Mr. Pant, you were not there that time, I can tell you. It was probably 1990 or 2000 as I had gone an examiner. What are we teaching today? It is, are we teaching the kids just what it is for the job, you get a job, or it is for the knowledge? I was sorry to say, I was the examiner for the final year students, and believe me, with all due regards to all of you, I will say mentally I was not prepared. Otherwise, practically, I would have given the proper marking, all the boys would have failed. Then I asked the boys, what I'm asking, what I've given it to you, is that I'm asking anything out of the course? They said, sir, there is nothing you are not asking, but this has been not taught to me. Are you going to punish the students? Are you going to punish the institution? Then I called up the principal, sir, this is what it is. He said, yes, we don't have the faculty. Why are we torturing the boys' faculty? And with all due apology, I have seen this. Okay, we have seen the heydays of the college. Mr. Pant, where Mr. Pant is the principal. I was a student of those days, and it was supposed to be one of the best. Definitely, Bombay and Delhi was supposed to be the one. And what we have learned is still fresh in our mind. Today, as students, we keep on, when I was in the industry till now, I used to ask, give me the mother sauce. 6 mother sauce. Boys cannot give me answer of the name of mother sauce, what is prepared and all. So you will have to look into, yes, today's scenario is different. I'm changing the topic, but since we have such a distinguished panel, I thought, let me take the opportunity. We'll have to look into all those things. We'll have to, it should not be job focused. Today, hotel industry is not the industry where you work for 8 hours. No, it is not 8 hours job. I have to look into what is my input in the industry. Are you satisfied with that? Just getting a good salary doesn't mean, no. You are joining today, leaving tomorrow because you are getting some 2,000 rupees extra from that. No, that is not. You will have to teach these things and calculate into their brain what it is. That I can see. Thank you very much, Mekla. Lots of things to my mind, but I will definitely come out later on. Go ahead. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Nair, now that we have been talking about the challenges that have been being faced by the educational institutions in hotel management and hospitality sector, as well as the industry and what it's going through, what do you think are the biggest learnings that has happened for the hotel and hospitality industry currently? And what can we really take back from this phase now, which we can use in the coming years to rebuild and thrive back, to what we were earlier, or maybe even better?
Yeah, I must, start with having admit, or rather, I'm not going to start answering the question straight off. I'm going to make a small admission to the panelists and to everyone else who's attending here. Last night, yesterday after we spoke, I knew where the subject was leading to and what we're going to talk about. And I sat down until pretty late last night after a wonderful dinner. I made a lot of notes and a lot of preparation. And by the time I finished them, the next thing, they're still lying in my dustbin. I threw them away. Because I realized one thing is the first thing that the pandemic has taught all of us is that we were not prepared for it. And it would have been very unfortunate for me to prepare for the subject when I'm speaking about a subject that I was never prepared for when it hit us. So I am going to speak now from my heart, whatever comes out, and I am not going to refer to any notes. That's for sure. The first thing that, I learned as a lesson personally, and I hope we have been able to cascade this down to the team that we work with, is that we've had to learn to adapt and adopt. Adopt the new ways of working that we're going to find, and adapt to the situation that we're in. The external factors that surround us obviously are not in our control. It was very easy for us to sit back and say that the business is not there. The expenses are very high. Let's shut down and tide for this to over. But let's not forget that every table stands on 4 legs. So it has 4 different stakeholders, which I call the legs. And the guest that we serve sits on top of the table. Now, if any one of those legs of that table were to become shorter or longer, the entire table would collapse. The guest would fall down and probably onto someone else's table, which we don't want to happen. So shutting down was never an option because there is a stakeholder and investor and owner attached to the business. If he does not get his returns, one of the legs of the table would crumble. Firing and getting rid of our staff was never an option because resource, the rest of it is just a building. What makes a hotel and the business a business is the people. The management company that provides us with all our knowledge and support, obviously their survival is the fact that we have the Crowne Plaza board that we are so proud of on this building. And of course, the 4th stakeholders, and another very important part of the stakeholders is the management and the team itself. So we had to answer and be responsible for all these 4 stakeholders, despite a pandemic that we've never seen before. We've seen 9/11, we've seen certain things, we've seen short-term losses, gains, revivals. Like Mr. Dayal said, it's not revival, it's survival. So when you start thinking of survival, you have to start thinking out of the box. I think Dr. Pant said this very beautifully, that it's all about out of the box thinking and doing something which you've never done before, because you are faced with unusual circumstances. And when you are faced with an unusual circumstances, you require unusual measures to overcome it. You can't keep doing what you've done in the past. We can't go around beating the same old bush and blaming others for it, and trying to come out and survive. So I'm just going to answer your question with a little bit of history of what happened to us during the pandemic. The hotel didn't shut down. We continued to pay 100% salaries till we could afford to. I think that went on till May or June of the pandemic year. We all decided as a team that we need to contribute. We took certain pay cuts. We retained our people as they were. We stayed in the hotel with a lockdown because we had 50 or 60 guests, not only from our hotel, but from other hotels that were shutting down in the city, in our vicinity, and almost in a 20-25 kilometer radius around us. We took those guests with us, locked ourselves inside, and we continued to work. We worked with those 60 guests and those 60 colleagues that we were in the hotel. We worked as a team. We served 15,000 meals to migrant workers. Even our guests were involved in that process. So they were working with us as they were part of the hotel team. Eventually, we did come out of the pandemic. Some of our industry colleagues are still struggling. They're still working. Things have started to look better, hopefully. And like good news, Dr. Pant said the vaccine is around the corner. But we really didn't wait for that to happen. And we continued to move on, not just with these guests, but new ways of trying to do the business. One of the attendees, I think her name is Ananya, and she posted a question as to how would you survive with the recession, and how would you make profits, or how would you continue to run your business if there were no profits to be made? And I really wanted to answer that question is yes, we looked at our expenses. What was not necessary, we did not do. When we were controlling ourselves or containing ourselves in a 400-room hotel, we spread over 8.5 acres. We actually shut down half the hotel, and we told ourselves, we believed it. The entire team believed it, that we are only a 200-room hotel. So we would move to those other 200 rooms periodically to just keep them clean, and so we don't end up with fungus at the end of the pandemic. But we believed that we were only a 200-room hotel, and we managed ourselves with that much resource that would go into running a 200-room hotel successfully. And that was a key to our survival. We went out when we knew that the guests are not going to come to us. We went out to the guests or customers, and we started food deliveries, a business that a hotel has never done before. We started opening bakery and laundry outlets in small shopping areas. We still run 2 of them, and there are more queries coming in. People want us to take over those bakeries. We started outsourcing our name and our business to shopping malls outside. These are just few of the examples of things that we did. Our team did quite a bit more. But to end of it, by the month of November, we were running a hotel with almost 80% occupancy, and God's been kind to us that we still retain those numbers. I would say that we have not recovered 100% on revenue terms as we were pre-pandemic, but I think we have already revived almost 80% of our revenue generation pre-pandemic, and we still this month we're looking at close to almost a 78-79% occupancy for the hotel. And I'm sharing these numbers, though they're privileged and confidential information, but I'm sharing these numbers so just so that I can weigh upon the point that I'm trying to make, that sitting down and waiting for things to happen was not an option for us. We had to adapt, we had to adopt. Now that we've moved into the new situation, what we call for ourselves as a post-pandemic revival of sorts, and of course, with the vaccine around the corner, we started gearing up our sales team, where people were being laid off from other sales organizations and hotels. We've just managed to hire 3 more. So we've increased our sales team by almost 15%. And we're still looking to hire a few more people because we want to be the first in contact, in relationship with the market before the gates open. So we want to take that advantage of being the first to connect and be the first out of the gate. And that's the only way one has to do it. So put the right investments into place at the right time before others start putting in that investment and you lose that first mover advantage. Another thing that I really wanted to share is what do I see as a post-pandemic, or personally what I feel is a post-pandemic outcome. I think, we started speaking about social distancing. I think that was one of the biggest myths of the pandemic. There was no such thing as social distancing. It was social closeness. It was physical distancing. I've never connected so many of my friends and family sitting here inside the hotel during that lockdown for those 3 months than I have done in the past maybe 2 to 3 years. And I'm sure that's going to be true for all of you and for a lot of us. So socially, I was far more connected. And I'm grateful for that. That was one of the biggest opportunities that the pandemic gave us. It gave us that sense of being connected again to people who are important to us, and not just because, we have to survive day and day and, get through each day. Most importantly, I revived an old sport, badminton and basketball with my team. Another sport which I love, but was never getting the time to play this. So these were all the opportunities that came out of pandemic. A lot of people revived their art. A lot of people revived their music. A lot of people revived their yoga. So these were all actual opportunities that came out of the pandemic. It was just waiting for us to grab them. I remember that we had started something called Power Talks in the hotel. So every day we would connect with either a customer or an industry leader. During those 2.5 months of the pandemic, we did about 90 Power Talks. These were daily 30-minute Power Talks that we would arrange as Zoom. So I love Zoom for that matter, but I will, why I don't like it, I will also speak later. But we started doing that, and we had 30 minutes with one of the panelists, Dr. Pant. Apart from chairmen of hotel companies, we had, the chairman of JK Cements came on the panel. Imagine getting 30 minutes of their time in a normal work situation. It would have never been possible. Imagine asking Dr. Pant to spend 30 minutes for an audience of 50, 40, 50, 60 people from our hotel and some of our other IHG hotels and spend time with us. Wouldn't have been possible for him, understandably. But he was so happy to be on that panel. I hope he was happy to be on that panel. So this is what I said. So it's not about social distancing or physical distancing. I think we have to learn to move out, not stay indoors, with the right physical distancing, with the right norms of hygiene, with our masks and all of that, and continue to be a part of the new normal. The new normal is not holding up inside your homes or just hiding away from the rest of the world. It has a physical impact on all of us. Being on an online screen, one of my distinguished friends told me last evening, is causing problems to his eyes. His vision is deteriorating. Why would I imagine anybody to go something through that? So we have to get back together We have to move in together, but we have to be very careful of the norms of maintaining physical distancing in the right hygienic manner. And that's going to be the new normal, as far as I feel it is. And really, I just wanted to end on this note. I heard so much about, because there are educational institutions on this panel. One of the things that we did later in the year, November, was we approached educational institutions for support. Like Mr. Pant and Dr. Anthony mentioned, that a lot of students have passed out. A lot of them had jobs. They're still waiting. The next lot is already ready. There is immense talent out there who don't know what to do. So we approach them. We have them for a 6 months training program, certified training program with theoretical intervention. These are pass out graduates. 150 of them are with us day in, day out for a 6 month program that will be certified, because what we believe is that we are preparing them to be hired with ourselves, with IHG Hotels, and we are also preparing them for jobs with other hotels. So if anybody gets a job during the 6 months period, they still get a certificate for the amount of time they've spent with us. They still get theoretical intervention, not only from the college, but also from within the industry experts that work with us at the hotel, like our director F&B or our chief engineer, are giving them theoretical intervention at the same time. So we are just preparing them for the future rather than them sitting at home and waiting for the pandemic to be over. That's our little contribution. And I believe that if, every hotel, for whatever small amount of business that they've retained, went back and did something similar. And this is a paid internship. This is not a free internship program for them. If every hotel, whether they had 25% or 50% occupancy, if they did that, think of the number of students who are waiting for jobs, who would be connected with the industry day in and day out, and would be ready the moment this pandemic would be over. I also believe if there are students out there, and this I'm just throwing as a thought in the air, if there are students out there who are not going to be able to afford hospitality or other educations, why do not educational institutions and private companies like ourselves come together, support that education as a loan? And I'm not saying do it for free. Charge them the interest that they would have paid, but let them pay once they start earning. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. With that, I think I should end my subject. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. I think those inputs were really very practical and something that has proven time and again that this was indeed a time when it was not just adapt and move on. And I think this was a perfect example for all our students and faculty who are also present today as part of this webinar, to understand that how the hotel industry has also made their own efforts to thrive and, to kind of move forward. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Banerjee. We spoke about creative solutions and out-of-the-box thinking, both by Mr. Nair and Mr. Pant. Dr. Banerjee, what, according to you, are now the new sectors that are coming on the front line of the hotel management sector, which you see are now, gaining a lot of importance or significance, and something which is completely creative and new? Would you like to tell us a little bit about that as an educational entity?
Namaste. Good day to you all. Thank you, Mikla, for inviting me, and I offer my gratitude to all the panelists. Dr. Pant, so special, gratitude to you. After a long time, we are seeing you on screen, of course. And thanks and regards to everyone. Well, I'll take 10 minutes as has been allocated for me. So I'll just speak a few things. See, I'm a bit philosophical in my thinking. Therefore, pardon me if I'm again philosophical today here in this context. What I find is, one of my friends, he's in Pennsylvania State University, just retired. He used to tell home sweet home. Always he used to do when I used to visit him or together we used to visit, Germany or some other place. Always he used to mention home sweet home. I had asked him once, why do you mention home sweet home? He was telling, manager, you don't understand what is the kind of sweetness. It smells sweet home everywhere, all corners of my home. I understood that he is, homesick person. His wife is also a professor. They have a good friendship between. And I understood that home had an attraction for him. Now I find last 9 and 10 months, I understood the meaning of home as a kind of sweet entity, as a kind of sweet place, has been delivered by God to everyone. It's not only the home sweet home. I remember, in Rig Vedas, Madhuvata, Hitayati, Madhuksharanti, Sindavaha. I have added one line in that. Bhumihi Madhurna Sharanti Sindavaha. So the bhumi, the soil is now, honey. The sweetness of the soil, the sweet smell of the soil has now, given the life to people. See, otherwise the world would have, seen a different kind of pandemic of, people facing obsession, people facing, disruption, chaos, minds totally occupied by all darkness, everything. But you see, home has given them a sweetness. We need people to be vibrant for us to, take them as our guests in our shelters, in our places across the globe. If the person is not vibrant in mind, the person would never choose for a destination travel for whatever reason. And they will come and they will visit only when there is a, that kind of happiness inbuilt in or stored inside in the person. And I believe the kind of happiness which was lacking in our, very fast, schedule in life, somehow Corona has pushed us to that corner of drawing a different taste of happiness from the soil and from the corners of home. Well, I have a few suggestions for the entire, tourism industry and for hotel industry and hospitality industry, the hotel and hospitality industry is in particular. What I find is, industry prefers to be more practical always. I would give a suggestion that, okay, yes, it is true, it is needed that we need to be very, very practical in our approach, in our activities, but let's take a break in that, at least partially, and let's make a bit of aesthetic in our outlook than practice and being practical in our outlook. So my first suggestion is, from practical to more of aesthetical, let's become. If we can do that, I'll explain meaning, a little bit of explaining given the time frame. Then I have a different suggestion for manpower. What Mr. Nayar was mentioning, wonderful. I was so much impressed by his, words, and, he's mentioned wonderful, like, they preferred, a chosen cut in their salary. And it's, I have a book on ethics that I mentioned a theory called distributive justice, which I believe you know. Distributive justice is, what I feel, what I want, that has to be provided to all. Because, I take pleasure in that. So if I have a, kind of financial justice or justice for living a good life or somewhat, pleasant life, then that is a distributive justice. Wonderful. I salute that activity. And so that is a kind of thing wherein we have to shift ourselves, we have to shift our focus from the mere role plays or the roles to the person, to the personality. So my second point is let's there be a thought of role to personality transition. And again, I have another observation that products and services are very, very important in this industry. Particularly, when, Mr. Dayal was mentioning about the kind of mix, differently he was, when he was asking a question to a team of people, group of people, about a particular preparation, the mixes, the basics, fundamentals. Yeah, those things are lacking. Of course, I expect that, I hope that they would learn while they are into work, but they were supposed to know that at that point of time. I support his view. As a teacher, I stand by his view. I support his view that as a learner, you need to learn on time. Whatever is needed for you to learn now, you need to learn now. You should not keep it on hold for the next. So I would rather suggest that let us shift our attention from product and service to the spirit of, the office. So I have only three small things on, as my suggestion, because I have given a thought, a serious thought about this industry. The quantitatives, the figures are all known. You are all seasoned people. You know all the figures, the position, and we know that globally. And I'm a keen observer of CNN, and CNN has got a global, CNN tourism is very important. So CNN provides a lot of services to that and connected with a lot of leading or most leading, chain and brands in the world. And I had a, strong inclination for, Hilton. Wherever I have visited in USA, I would first, look for Hilton and then go for the next. So I know how they are doing and what is the kind of product differentiation, service differentiation they've been doing in that. Now I would suggest that please take a break and put your attention to the spirit of the service, spirit of the product, than the mere product or service, which are on offer. Because, we need to offer the product and service, but the spirit of that becomes more important. So only three things. One is, practical to aesthetical, and that's my suggestion. Role to personality is my second point. That's what I wish that it should be there in the industry. And product service to the spirit of the offers by the industry. If we can go do this, then we find that home sweet home. And I would coin this as saying that, smell the sweetness of honey wherever you have this spirit of the offers. Oh, I'm not interested in the offer exactly, what is that? I am more interested in the spirit of that. I'm very sure the world has to come back on its own feet and stand up and tell that, look here, the global village has not got tarnished. The global village is there. The world has to, move forward. And the sun will not shut its, rays to fall on the earth system. It's going to happen. Corona cannot destroy the living of life and the continuity of life. Corona has given a halt or pushed us to a halt. But I'm very sure that life is going to take up in a vigorous way, further vigorous way. And as Mr. Nair was mentioning that they have, come back to a significant percentage of operation. I'm sure I've just, just this month and, December, I have already visited for some reason in nearby, in the city of Calcutta and nearby, and of three brands, three 5-star brands, and one, for next level 4-star brands in a town nearby. And I found that people have become more, focused to their own intrinsic qualities than before. And that is the right state. And I understood that spirit is what has to be given a dominance, has to be given a higher importance, greater importance for us to take the industry to our next level. The industry has got a strong future. I would suggest that, those who are the learners, you need to learn beyond the product, beyond the service, you need to learn certain other things. I'll tell you, we have, according to our Shastras, our ancient scriptures, the Vedas, we have got a Gyanendriya, Panch Gyanendriya, 5, organs of your wisdom, the organs contributing to wisdom. You have got Chakshu, Karna, you have got Nashika, Jova, Tak. Meaning you have got the eyes, you have got the ear, you have got the, nose to smell, you have got the tongue to, taste, skin to touch. All these are governed and coordinated by mind. Manaha pragraham evachaha. So when the mind becomes a coordinating organ for all these gyanendriyas, what happens is mind can give you a new pathway. So if our Gyanendriyas are intending to provide something which is spirit oriented, then the mind will get you into the agenda for activity and agenda for work, which should be a renewed work, which should be a new kind of thing, a new variety, which should be developed by the same person, by you and me, across the counter, and then we'll become a different person. The same individual becomes a different person. The same offer becomes a different offer, and I'm sure it's going to pull the people across the counters in a larger number, in a better way, in more in an intense manner, rather intensely. So I come back to my friends saying home sweet home. Let this become home for many people, and we have to make it a sweet place. If that sweetness of honey we can deliver from there, surely people will come. Thank you very much. Namaskar, namaste. Once again, conveying my regards to GHRDC for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure hearing your comments, and I'm sure all of us will be able to relate and practice some of these things that you have shared with us. I have next Ms. Payal Joshi. Payal, if you're there, can I ask you a question on how can you think, because you are now very much a part of the industry, how can the industry in these tough times collaborate with educational institutions to provide not just job opportunities, but more ways of engagement, if I can put it that way? Can you suggest a few ways for doing that?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this, to be a part of this esteemed panel. I am probably the least experienced amongst all these stalwarts that I am sharing the panel with. Thank you so much. And I've heard all of them, and I would like to just share one thing, that I've probably been a part of what exactly Mr. Nair has been throughout the pandemic and the lockdown, since we were also operating and everybody was in the hotel, staying in the hotel, including the team members and the guests. And it has been a difficult phase, and I'm sure it has exactly been the same for the students, with a completely new way of studying, whether it's schools or colleges, an online teaching platform, and I'm sure not easy for the lecturers and the teachers as well. Yes, it has been a difficult time for the hospitality industry and the tourism industry. There are no job openings right now in the market, and there is a surplus of talent that we have right now. Like some of the panelists who've just said, that we have students passing out, already passed out, but then yes, the industry is not recruiting right now, and this will I don't see this changing till the year end at least. I am in Bangalore, and looking at how as the hotels in Bangalore are doing, I probably feel that Bangalore would be the last city to recover from this. Probably the last city, I may be wrong, probably the last city to recover from this, because the major clientele that we have is from the IT industry, apart from the leisure, but major part of it is IT, and IT industries are not working from office, at least till the end of June, some maybe even till the end of this year. So yes, it is a very difficult time, and probably the only industry which is really growing, and I have seen, met people from this industry and seen them grow, have promotions, have salary raise and all that, is the online industry, online marketing industry. So I have had the chance of meeting and interacting with few people from Amazon and Zomato, and they are the ones probably who are like doing their bit at helping the rest of the industries cope up with the pressures, but at the same time they are probably the only industry which is growing right now. When it comes to students as to what can be done or what they should do right now is, or how we can help them is, probably have online trainings once the colleges start. I know recruitments will not happen for some time. Internship trainings will not happen for some time, but there could be batches wherein you could have guest interactions. You could have short batches of they coming to the industry for just an exposure. As of now, and I was speaking to my HR and training team as well to just get an idea as to how things are going to move further. I don't think anything will move for the next 6 months, and this is a very honest feedback that I have from my team members as well. That going further, there is not going to be any ray of hope at the moment for the next 6 months. But yes, we can look at having online training sessions for the students.
Thank you, Payal. Any of the other panelists who would like to also join in and just elaborate on this, on how can the education and industry collaborate together in times like these and find ways and means for more engagement? Job opportunities is, of course, a very big looming question, and this has been one of the main reasons we wanted to hold this webinar series to kind of mull over it. But apart from that, anything that you feel we can do which can be part of this webinar series summary, to so to say, or some kind of an analysis that we can take out, which we can also share with our other stakeholders. So any of the other panelists, I would like to open this question. And yes, Dr. Banerjee, please.
Yeah, just one point comes to my mind, like, yes, during this period, more of interaction between the, provider, service provider, and, the customers or the service takers previously is needed. So, as she has mentioned, she has mentioned it clearly, and it's true that online things are now very vibrant. We all know. And in fact, right now we are also online. So can there be, classified online interaction in terms of sharing of knowledge? How did you, spend your days? So, the hotels can, connect with their previous customers, maybe the 1 year customers, 1 year back, same month the last year, the same month last year customers you have. So you connect with them, you group them maybe on certain demographic parameters, because you don't have psychographic data, but demographics surely you have. So, and then have a interactive sessions with them is a kind of, sharing. You are not expecting anything, nor does the person expect anything. However, with this, there would be a churning, and, more of intent would be flowing down.
Sure.
So that could be one of the options that comes in my mind, and this can be done immediately. And institutions which are there, the institutions also, academic institutions, they can also partner in this in this entire game. And this could be city-wise, this could be metropolis-wise or zone-wise. And then if this can be done, I think you have an engagement every week. And every week, let there be an open forum. And in the open forum, you identify some names, you invite your previous visitors, involve your institutions supporting by, sending the good talents to you and your own people. If this tripartite is connected, I believe a lot of things shall occur, meaning it's a kind of ice breaking.
Ms. Mekla.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't agree more with Professor Banerjee, and I would like to elaborate a little bit on what Professor Banerjee has just shared with us. What I feel is, I can say this because I have been on both sides of the desk. I have been a hotelier, and the view that you had towards the academia was different then. And now for past 2 decades, I have been on the other side. What I feel is now it is time to collaborate. We must not see one another as adversaries or people, who are sitting across the desk, if I could say so. I would like to bring a larger perspective to this, because we all know that what I feel is that our country, India as such, must emerge stronger out of this crisis. And we know that the business is down. We know that the jobs cannot be created. There cannot be a booster. There cannot be the hotel or this sector cannot be put on steroids and made to grow, unnaturally. But what I feel is that this is the time for us to prepare ourselves for greater times. Sharpening our axe, I think that is the opportunity we must take at this particular time. And like we have done, thinking out of the box and found out, ways how we cope up with the situation, probably a greater interaction. I would like to really compliment what Ms. Payal Joshi has just said, that volunteering services and volunteering people to come over to the hotel for exposure and lending her hand in orienting the people, sensitizing the people to different issues, that the hotels are going through. I think that is a very welcome idea. And what I feel is, what I gathered from what Mr. Nair also said, that it is the Darwinian theory, playing once again. Survival of the fittest. I know that there are some hotels which are coming very close to the pre-COVID level. These are the hotels being led by very courageous people who did not put them into cocoon, when the pandemic was there at the peak. And they took the courage and they took all the precautions, and they inspired their team members also to be doing the same. So I feel it is going to be a survival of the fittest. People who have been courageous, who have been careful, who have gone out there and put themselves in the harm's way, they have had greater learning taking place, and they are going to certainly, emerge stronger out of this crisis. So this is what I feel. But one more thing I would like to share here is that it is not going to come back to the normal as we knew it earlier.
Right.
There are some permanent changes which are going to be happening. And then what greater role we want in those changes, because probably the kind of business travel that we have also witnessed, possibly that is not going to happen in the future. I used to travel at least 4 times, 3 times in a month for attending some board meeting or some other, but those things have now come on the virtual platform. And I am very happy that rather than traveling to region, one South India and then East India and other places, if we can transact business as effectively on the virtual platform, I would welcome that. And then that is going to make a lot of saving in the economy. But those kind of savings could be deployed in other areas, and a collaboration between the industry, probably we can collaborate and see or foresee how the situation, how the industry is going to shape in the future, and maybe bring those perspectives into the curriculum. And closer interaction we can make, we can groom the talent to order whatever is required, like people like Ashwini and others, they can sell, that these are the kind of skills we want a little more. It is like a recipe, for preparing salespeople or guest contact people or non-guest contact people. And then we can alter the recipe, because the new standardization in the recipes has to be done. And I think this is the crisis is teaching us something. All of us have become humble. Academicians had their own egos, hoteliers had their own egos, but this pandemic has also been a big leveler. So we are starting from the ground up now, and I would like to bring in that element of loving our own country and making it emerge stronger in the days to come. And I feel, this is my wish, and this is my vision also, that India, our country, has to emerge. It will emerge stronger out of this pandemic. Thank you.
Definitely we will. And this will be a very opportune moment for us. Yes, Mr. Nair, you wanted to say
I
something.
just wanted to add on to Mr. Pant's
Yes.
thing. I think one of the biggest opportunities that we have got out of this pandemic is that we are going to be far more resilient. We are going to be much stronger, both personally and professionally post the pandemic. And that's going to be one of the biggest learnings. I was just referring to a WhatsApp forward that I received. I don't usually spend too much time on them, but this was about some sheikh, some ruler of, I will not name because it's not a verified source, but he says that my father used to ride a camel. I ride a Mercedes. My son rides a Land Rover. His son will ride a Land Rover, but his son is going to ride a camel again. So tough situations make tough men. Tough men make easy situations. Easy situation makes weak men. Weak men make tough situations, and those tough situations again make tough men.
Absolutely. Cycle.
It's a cycle.
And very rightly said, Mr. Nair. I think one of the things that is coming out from this entire discussion is that it is, of course, a time for us to adapt and change, but also to continue to do that work on ourselves in terms of upgrading our skills and keep working and thinking of creative solutions at this point of time as to whatever can be done for our students, for our industry, for our faculty, and all the stakeholders who are really involved in this right now. We have some questions from our bright students and faculty who are eager to ask a few questions. I know we are running out of time, but I would just request Neha if you can raise a couple of questions and also mention which speaker it is addressed to.
Yeah. So there is one question for Ms. Payal Joshi. Ms. Payal, if you're there, can you please answer this question?
Yes, please.
So after this current pandemic, how hospitality industry will make up to their losses? And also if you can suggest some strategies and tools for the hotel industry to overcome the recession during and post COVID-19.
Well, it is very difficult to say how soon the losses will be overcome, but I think the industry is already on its way to do that. There are different strategies. The strategies have changed. The way you look at business has changed. It's more like a lot of our senior members just said. I think we've become more humble and we've just adapted to the new change that has happened. For example, a hotel like mine, I work for a business hotel, and we are situated inside an IT tech park. So our 80% of the business comes from the IT industry. But ever since this lockdown has got over, and of course, I wouldn't say the pandemic is over yet. We still have a little more to. The vaccine is still just coming. But yes, the strategy has changed from only looking at business guests or only chasing business through IT companies and corporate sectors to a more, a softer approach wherein it goes to staycations or leisure. And there are a lot of people who have been working from home, so they look at having a change from their routine, and that's where we are seeing that they want to come and stay in a hotel. And we are trying to give them a different experience, give them a little recreation. Not only the room and the food is taken care of, we are also ensuring that, we give them a little recreation, a little something to look forward to when they come and stay with us. So something like we have games organized for them. You have yoga sessions organized for them, or you have some kind of a recreation happening for them, right from badminton to carom to cricket if they want to play, or if they just want to sit down by the poolside and do some painting. So things like these, which our hotel has done earlier, very different from what we are doing now. So I think things like these are happening, and most hotels must be doing their own bit to ensure that hotels are comfortable and made to feel happy of being out of their homes and being somewhere more relaxed. And I think this is the way forward. We just adapt to the changing situations and see how best we can ensure that whatever guests are coming to us, whatever clientele is coming to us, is happy. I know for sure, like I already said, this will take time for the industry to come back to the previous, what we were doing in 2019, probably we will not do till 2022. 2020 has already gone, 21 will go in recovering from what happened. But going forward, I already see a lot of hotels are catching up on their losses. I wouldn't say they're making profits, but yes, there has been a change from what we were 6 months ago to what we are now.
I think the case of Airbnb is very relevant here because if you hear about what his co-founder Brian Chesky said, he said, well, the concept of work from home has come up, but it's not just working from home can be any home, you know, and how Airbnb
right.
has bounced back to its, business, and they've revived their operations. There's a lot to learn from that. And I think what you're sharing today about the same concept in a different sense is exactly what we all have to take back from. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you see these, all these leisure hotels or even small places like if you heard of Coorg near Bangalore, or if you go to even places like Wayanad or Ooty and all, Goa for sure. I think these hotels are all flooded with only leisure because they all just want to change.
Yeah.
So the entire concept of traveling for work has changed to probably traveling only for leisure or just a staycation, or just have a break from what you're doing, what your routine is. And spending time with family has been like the biggest change that I have seen with people. They are working, but they are spending more time with their families. And yes, I think this is how it'll be. And I'm sure at some point of time, we will all recover from these times, from these difficult times.
Neha, would you like to ask any more questions?
Yeah. I think there is one more question that I think Mr. Nair can address to this question. How does customer trust influence customer loyalty in the hotel industry post COVID-19? Sir, would you please address to the query?
So, Neha, if I may take the opportunity, I saw one more question, and if I'm jumping the gun, please excuse me for that. There was this question about artificial intelligence replacing human beings. So Ankit, who asked this question, if you are not aware, ours is the second oldest profession in the world. It has always survived on people, and it will continue to do so. And let me give you an example. I used to manage a very strong food and beverage hotel company in Thailand. For this hotel, we had close to about 1,200 visitors every day, 1,200 customers just to our restaurant and bars, and these were all outside customers. And that's not a small number. I had 9 restaurants and bars, including 2 Michelin-starred restaurants. Now, the main thing, one of these things that we did for that hotel was we took on in one of our very famous bars. You must have heard of the Sky Bar, which was part of this movie Hangover 2 as well. So what we did for the bar is that we employed artificial intelligence, AI, because of the number of people we were dealing with. And we used another terminology, which is called AR. Some of the people may not be aware of what AR is. I'll make it easy. AR is augmented reality, where reality is augmented on a screen. We did a combination of these two. The AI took certain details of the customers, and believe you me, we were not dealing with too many repeat customers because it's like a touristic destination. That bar has about 800 to 900 people coming in the course of one evening, 4 hours. So we took AI, we took people's preferences, put that into churn out. So by the time you were ready to order your drink, the AI had churned out what kind of a drink, cocktail would you be preferring. And AR would actually allow you some pre-fed options were there. AR would actually allow you to watch that drink come to life on a screen. So it was a whole new virtual experience of going into a bar, but I still needed that steward to reach the customer, talk to him about AI, and I needed that mixologist and the bartender to create that cocktail because they could not drink it virtually. They still have to drink the drink. So just to answer your question, AI is only going to be your support. It's not going to replace you or me. Coming back to the second question, which you asked me, Neha. I think that's an easier one. Customer loyalty is going to become far more paramount than it ever has been in the past. The understanding of customer loyalty is going to become far more paramount. Like Payal said, if it's not only about the business, because how business travel works is an RFP is sent out, we sign up, we have the best rates, best services available, and the company, someone sitting in Singapore or in Hong Kong, decides to choose our hotel over our competitor. All the 400, 500, 2,000 visitors of that company are told that this is the hotel A and B, where you're supposed to go and stay if you're traveling to Bangalore or to Delhi NCR, wherever you're going. And they have to use those hotels. Now people are traveling out of their own will for workations, staycations, daycations. There are so many new ways of attracting people. I'm happy to see, Payal, you have staycations and you have daycations and workations like even Airbnb spoke about. So these are now people who are going to make a choice, and if you do not make yourself the first recall or the person that they are going to be attracted to and remain loyal to, the choices are going to be far more. So loyalty definitely, and that's only going to happen if you bring in a new element to your hotel. I'm so happy to hear where you said that you're not just offering them a room as you did before, but you're offering them so much more in terms of things that they can do, activities that they can engage in the hotel, and that's what builds loyalty to customers. So I hope I've been able to answer both the questions.
Thank you, sir. There is one more question for Mr. Pant. What will be your suggestions to the students to become successful entrepreneurs in the current scenario, sir?
Entrepreneurship any day is all about looking for opportunities, identifying them, and then capitalizing on them, right? So I think for students who want to take the plunge in entrepreneurship, they have to attune their mind. There are some people who hear the door shut, but there are some people, they take precedence and they hear the door opening. So before the door is shut, it has to open also. And I see that past so many weeks or months, some panelists did mention that online food delivery, the kind of record that have been set in that particular area, that is one area. Then the logistics in online ordering is one thing, like Mr. Ashwini said, but making that product or that service to reach the person who has ordered it, that is another opportunity which has emerged. So I feel that one has to look at the opportunity, what is appearing in the market. One has to see where a gap is emerging, and then we have to find solution, design a product or design a service which is adequately addressing or bridging that gap which is there in the market, and at the same time getting some revenue stream coming out of that. If those are the things we can do, the basic rules for becoming an entrepreneur remain the same. And there are many opportunities in the market. There are people ready with their venture capital, if one has to take that route, it is possible. Like good idea, good identification of the opportunity, and then bridging the gap which is existing in the marketplace with a workable and sustainable kind of a solution. I think that will still remain the key element for entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for answering the question. I think we have one last question for Mr. Dayal. How will our stay in hotels look like in a world after coronavirus, sir?
Now, hoteliers have to start working on differently. There will be no difference except you have to be more personalized and you have to be more innovative. Earlier, uh, we were basically lots of foreign tourists we were getting it. Now it is not that so many foreign, lots of Indians have started traveling, and they have started. It was not only for work related; they are traveling with the family. Uh, they are traveling with the family. Mr. Nair just now mentioned the Goa or was mentioned that the Goa is full. Yes, Goa is full because they are travel. They want change, and they are traveling with the family. We will have to work on create some. Lots of hotels have done it, and they are still doing it. But lots of more innovative either for the kids' playroom, some lots of things for the Indians. Then we will have to look into the cost control. It is not only you reduce the staff as a cost control. No, it is not. Reduce the staff is not. You have to look into the profitability. It is we used to talk about 40% GOP or 55%. I've seen hotels 55% GOP. We'll have to look at food cost differs from the hotel has a set idea of banqueting should be this much F&B. So the a small city food cost should be definitely higher because your procurement cost is a little more. The paying capacity of the people is less. Where you go to big city, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, your procurement price is definitely because of availability. The procurement price of raw material is less. You'll have to the selling price is higher. So you'll have to look into all this idea. We'll have to work on these things. So it will be very. It will definitely invite lots of other guests as well. Invite other people also who are not earlier used to afford that. Now they will afford try to afford to go to the hotel. That's how I can think on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neha. Is that all from the
Yeah.
audience? I think we
Yes.
can go on with the questions for a long time if we allow them to, but I'm afraid we are running out of time. I think if I can summarize this entire session today, 3 words come to my mind. I think adaptability, customization, and out of the box thinking, and of course, creative solutions. And it's so inspiring for us to hear the kind of initiatives that are being taken by the hotel industry in whatever ways they can and how they've adapted to really understand the needs of our current customers, and they're trying their level best to also change with those times. Even for educational institutions, I think we have a lot to take back from today's session in terms of how we can fine tune the students to adapt to this need of the industry, which we have discussed today, to increase engagement between institutions and the industry in whatever ways and means we can. Like Dr. Banerjee mentioned, of a more frequent engagement process, not necessarily just job opportunities and internships, but engagement in terms of trainings or projects or anything else that can really increase the interaction between the industry and educational institutions. And I think that's the need of the day for the morale of the students and the faculty to really be taken up. So I think on that note, I'd like to formally end today's panel discussion. Can't thank any of you enough. This has been such a wonderful session, and If I wanted, I could have probably extended this session for another 1 hour, and we could have just gone on. This conversation was just so interesting. And like I said, as an organization, this is an area which is very close to our heart. We are also thinking in terms of the mental and physical well-being of students, faculty, and the industry stakeholders in this entire pandemic situation, and that has been one of the focus areas for us as a research organization. So perhaps we can take up those areas next time, and we are really looking forward to having all of you as part of these webinar series that we will be holding more regularly now. So thank you so much once again, and a lot of